The ocean, mysterious, ancient, beautiful, terrifying. For thousands of years it has provided life, food, peace, even spiritual connection. But in an instant, it can become something else entirely. In 2008, off the southern coast of Australia, a man slipped into the water for what should have been a peaceful dive, just like he had done countless times before. He was strong, confident, a world-class spear fisherman, a man who belonged to the sea. But that day, the sea turned on him. What happened beneath the waves would become one of the most horrific shark attacks ever survived in human history. An attack so brutal, it tore open his chest, shattered his ribs, exposed his internal organs, and very nearly killed him. But this is not a story about a monster. This is the story of Rodney Fox, a man who was chewed up by death itself and came back stronger. A man whose body was broken, but whose spirit never gave in. And through the blood, pain, and darkness, he taught the world what it truly means to be resilient. Rodney Fox was just 23 years old. In many ways, he was like any other young man, ambitious, passionate, driven by the thrill of the chase. But Rodney wasn't chasing money or fame. He was chasing depth of life, of experience, of the sea itself. By 2008, he had already become a national spearfishing champion, one of the best in Australia. Strong, focused, fearless, he moved through water like it was home, because, to him, it was. The ocean wasn't just a hobby, it was his sanctuary, his teacher, his testing ground. There's a kind of peace down there, the kind only those who truly belong in the sea can understand. To Rodney, diving was more than sport, it was communion, a moment of silence in a world that never stops shouting. He was young, invincible, beloved. He had dreams, a wife who adored him, and a future that felt like it had no limits. But what no one, not even Rodney, could know was that his life was about to collide with a force of nature so ancient, so unstoppable, it would leave him forever changed. A predator was waiting, and it didn't care who Rodney was, only that he was in the water. Before we go deeper, take a breath. Let this moment sink in. This story isn't just about a shark. It's about what happens when everything you know is torn apart. Rodney's body was shattered, but his spirit wasn't. He faced death in the eye and didn't let it define him. Rodney's story isn't just about a shark. It's about what you do when life rips into you without warning, when you're bleeding, alone, and sinking fast. Maybe your shark wasn't 20 feet long with 300 teeth. Maybe it was a diagnosis, a breakup, a death, a betrayal, the kind of pain no one else sees. But still, you kept going. You fought. Or maybe you're still fighting right now. So if any part of this speaks to your soul, do something with it. Comment below, tell us what you've survived. Like this video if you've ever had to fight for your life, your peace, or your future. Subscribe so you never miss stories that remind you who you really are. Share this video with someone who needs hope today. You might be the reason they keep going. Rodney slipped beneath the surface, just like he had hundreds of times before. The light above him shimmered like a dream. Below, it was calm, quiet. Too quiet. He spotted a target, raised his spear gun, focused, steady. He never saw it coming. In an instant, a massive force exploded into his body from below, the kind of impact that doesn't just knock the wind out of you, it tears you apart. A great white shark, over 20 feet long, surged upward like a missile and clamped its jaws around his torso. Rodney's goggles filled with red. He couldn't scream. He couldn't breathe. The shark dragged him down, deeper, faster, its teeth embedded in his flesh. It was death. Violent, silent, certain. But in that chaos, something inside him refused to die. Rodney fought. He jabbed the shark's eye with his free hand, again and again, forcing it to release him. But it wasn't over. The shark spun and attacked again, this time grabbing his arm. He could feel its teeth grinding against his bone. He shoved his arm deeper into its mouth, a desperate move to block it from getting his throat. Then, as suddenly as it had come, the shark let go. Rodney floated upward, barely conscious, barely breathing. His wetsuit was shredded. His stomach was open, his body leaking blood into the sea. He was alive. But for how long? Rodney's friends pulled him aboard and froze. What they saw was unimaginable. His abdomen was torn wide open. His wetsuit hung in shreds. His ribs were crushed. One lung had collapsed, and his insides were exposed. They did what they could, wrapped him in towels, held pressure, screamed into the wind, praying he'd just make it back alive. By the time they reached shore, Rodney had lost a dangerous amount of blood. His breathing was shallow, his pulse fading. Doctors had minutes, maybe seconds, to save him. His internal organs were literally falling out of his body. Surgeons worked frantically to push them back in, to stabilize his lung, to close what they could. They stitched his chest shut. A total of 462 stitches. Some internal, many external. It was one of the most severe shark attack injuries ever survived. Multiple surgeries, days in critical care, no guarantees. No one expected him to live through the night. But somehow, Rodney held on, through the pain, the fever, the trauma. He made it through the night. And the next and the next. Most people, after what Rodney had endured, would never even look at the ocean again. They'd turn away, close that chapter, live quietly, cautiously, safely. But Rodney was different. He didn't retreat from the sea. He didn't carry hatred for the creature that nearly killed him. Instead, he became obsessed. Not with revenge, but with understanding. Where others would see a monster, Rodney saw a mystery. Where others would bury fear, Rodney chose to face it. Lying in that hospital bed, he asked himself a question that would change his life, and eventually change the world. That single question, born from trauma, was the beginning of his transformation. Because sometimes, courage isn't about jumping out of planes or running into fire. Real courage is waking up broken, terrified, and choosing to move forward anyway. Rodney didn't just survive, he leaned into the very thing that tried to destroy him. And in doing so, he discovered a deeper truth, that fear isn't the end of the road, it's the start of a new one. This was his turning point. Not the moment the shark attacked, but the moment he decided, this won't be the end of me. Rodney could have disappeared into a quiet life. He could have avoided the sea forever, and no one would have blamed him. But instead, he turned his pain into purpose. He became the first man in history to design and build a functional shark cage, a revolutionary device that allowed divers and scientists to come face to face with great white sharks safely. And it wasn't just invention, it was obsession. He had to get back in the water, not for thrill, but for understanding. He dove with the very creatures that nearly killed him. He studied them, filmed them, looked them in the eye. He stared into the abyss and didn't blink. Rodney began working with National Geographic, then the BBC. He became the world's leading expert on great white behavior, not a scientist by degree, but a student of survival. He captured footage no one had ever seen, the raw, unfiltered power of the ocean's apex predator. His images fascinated the world and caught the eye of a young director in Hollywood. Rodney's work helped inspire Steven Spielberg's Jaws, one of the most iconic films of all time. From victim to innovator, from trauma to transformation, from blood in the water to beauty beneath it. Rodney Fox didn't just survive the attack, he reshaped how the world sees sharks. And in doing so, he rewrote what it means to conquer fear. Rodney didn't stop there. He founded Rodney Fox Shark Expeditions, a global ecotourism and research initiative. He taught the world that sharks aren't monsters, they're vital, misunderstood predators that deserve respect. His son, Andrew, now leads their conservation mission, protecting oceans, educating the next generation, and proving that survival can spark transformation. Rodney Fox is more than a survivor. He's a symbol of what it means to refuse to be broken. Pain, fear, trauma, we all face them. Your shark might not have fins, but it's just as terrifying. Resilience isn't about never falling, it's about choosing to rise, again and again. From nearly being eaten alive to protecting the very thing that almost killed him, that's humanity at its most powerful. If Rodney's story touched something deep inside you, don't let it fade away. Subscribe to this channel for more stories that ignite the human spirit. Comment your survival story below. Let others know they're not alone. Share this video because someone out there needs it today. Your scars don't make you weak, they make you legendary.